Welcome to the Essential Skills for Humaning podcast, where we explore the fundamental abilities and insights that make us better humans. Here's your host, Christina Eanes.
Hi, everyone. Christina Eanes here for this episode of Essential Skills for Humaning. We are welcoming back Susanne Madsen. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on again. It's a great pleasure.
Well, we had so much fun the first time, and you've got so many great topics to talk about. Before we do talk about why you overwork yourself, though, for maybe those who hadn't listened to the episode before, can you share a little bit about your background with our listeners?
Yes, sure. And it is obviously very relevant to this topic because I used to be a very overworked project manager in a big corporation. And in fact, I used to work a lot in finance and investment banking, running big projects. And there was a lot of reasons we will get into for why I was overworking myself, being stressed out. But I also enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. And about 15 years ago, I attended a leadership program. I was coached for the first time. And I had one of those aha moments where I realized that actually it's all about leadership, not about management. And I have the power to actually control my mind and leave office earlier in the day if I want to. Again, very relevant to today's conversation. So in short, it led me to actually go down the coaching route and qualify myself as a coach. And for the last 12 years, I think, I've been working independently to coach and train. So I do executive coaching. I do leadership programs for stressed out project managers or corporate managers to help them find more balance as well. So it's a good mix now of more harder topics and softer topics.
Awesome. Well, so let's dive in on why do we overwork ourselves? Where do you want to start?
Gosh, well, this is not about me, but since I just introduced myself, why don't we start with my own story? Because
Love it.
there are different patterns that lead us to overwork. And I think I would say I was a high achiever. I'm still a high achiever, but now I've learned to temper that a little bit. And sometimes when we are that high achiever like I was, we just want to move forward and we don't even question it. It's so normal that we want to do good. We want to perform. We want to have that praise. We want to have that acknowledgement. We want to have that bonus. We want to have that promotion. That wasn't necessarily what I was after, but we're driven. We're driven. We may even love what we do. And so there is such a thing as too much of a good thing because we overdo it. And so that was my situation. Sure, I had a few aches and pains, and I did go to the doctor at some point to say, I'm noticing all of these symptoms. And I was just basically told, you're fine. Stop worrying. But I know today that it was a sign of my body being in stress. And I think no matter what the patterns are for us overworking, there will be physical symptoms that people need to pay attention to. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and can you share a little bit about, especially for those who love to work, right? Or maybe workaholism, could it be that bad if you really love it? But could you pay attention to, or tell me the things that we do need to pay attention to? Because sometimes it's hard when you're in go mode.
Yeah. And, okay, paying attention to, on a scale from 1 to 10, how are you feeling? Are you happy? Happy may be a little bit of a difficult one to measure, but what's your well-being like? And people will often overrule themselves. They will overrule the symptoms in their body with a thought. So they will say, yes, I got promoted, so of course I'm happy. Or I finally got my dream job, so of course I'm happy. And I would say, well, widen your spectrum then. Let's look at, in coaching, we like a tool called the Wheel of Life. Mm-hmm. And it measures your well-being, let's say, in 8 topics. So there's financials, there's leisure time, there is work, there is personal relationships, there's hobbies, and so forth. Health, did I mention health? And so you may be happy in one part of your life because you got that promotion or you finally got what you wanted at work. Hopefully, maybe not, but hopefully. What about the other parts of your life? What about your health? What about your ability to sleep? What about your deep friendships? What about your family life? How much do you get to see your kids, etc., etc.? Because work is one pie. It's one slice of the pie, sorry. So that's a good place to start, an honest assessment. If people are truly happy, then maybe they are actively choosing to overwork. But I would say we need to talk about the impact, because it has a cost. Not the first month, maybe not the first year, maybe not even the first 10 years, depending on how bad it is. But then it will come back like a wave. And there are physical symptoms, there are emotional symptoms, you get moody, there are different types of these symptoms. And so maybe I begin to isolate myself. Maybe I don't see my friends as much. And I make excuses. Why? Because I'm busy. And being busy is something we tend to say as a positive, like, oh yeah, I'm important, I'm busy.
Mm.
But what's the impact? If you really look at yourself, what's the impact? So that's one thing we need to talk about, the impact. And at the same time, let's be honest, it has advantages. So what is the advantage of your overworking yourself? One obvious one, yes, I'm getting the status, hopefully, unless I'm driving in the wrong direction. Maybe there are financial rewards. Maybe there is, maybe there's acknowledgement from other people. My self-esteem is going up. So that there will be reasons why I do what I do. And it could also be, well, I'm paying for my children's education. Fair enough. Maybe you can do that without going to the extremes of overworking yourself. So I would say let's look at those positives and negatives and be honest about, is it serving you in the long term? And I would argue it never does. And I heard this saying that early in life, we spend all of our we spend our time and our health pursuing money, and later in life we spend all our money fixing our health. And I think there's something about that. We want to accumulate wealth, because what happens in a rainy day? What happens if we get old and we need somebody to take care of us? What happens if we get old and we need to spend money on our health? Well, is it not better to just work? I'm not saying not work. I'm saying just work in a more healthy way, be healthier overall. Don't compare yourself to the neighbor perhaps so much.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's easy, because for me, for instance, I've come a long way. So I now notice, because awareness is a big part of it. I notice when things are happening. And I'll give you a specific example. I've been going through ups and downs in my own life with being self-employed. There are times when I'm more busy. There are times when I'm less busy. And this last year, for some reason, I've been less busy. And it's a really good thing for me.
Mm.
It's a really good thing. I have many, many other things to do. I have a full life and a rich life. Very good. Still, I'll be honest, there is a little thought sometimes that pops up and says, should you not be contacting somebody else right now? Should you not be trying to get more work? Should you not be trying to, are you a loser now that you're spending your time gardening or whatever it is, doing qigong or whatever it is I'm doing? And I noticed the thought and I'm like, thank you very much. I'm quite fine the way I am. And then it goes away. And then maybe some weeks later, it pops up again. And I think it's because it's so ingrained in us that we should be busy. We should be working hard. And it's often led by a fear. So I'm going to pause there.
Oh, I was laughing because I so relate. I should be doing something right now. Yeah. So how do we overcome the shoulds?
Yeah. Well, the first step is understanding these patterns. So maybe we should just briefly talk about some of the different patterns that lead us to overwork. One of them is perfectionism. You sound like you recognize.
Yes.
Okay, so let's use you as an example. Would you say that is it in your personality type? Because some people just want to do a good job and they're only satisfied if that job is more than good. So is it in your personality type, or is it something that you have learned in your upbringing?
For me, I have not had a problem with perfectionism for years, but it's something that a lot of people bring up. But for me, I think it was the nurture versus nature.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it could be both.
Yeah.
I work with a lot of engineers, and many of them, their personality type is of that nature that they want to do things really well, and they put pride into doing a good piece of work. And sometimes they can't let go of it because this is where the word over engineering comes from. They want to keep enhancing it, keep improving. They can't let go. And sometimes that's coupled with a pattern of not being able to delegate because I want to retain control.
Yeah.
And again, looking deeper into that, what is that about? Is there a fear that they're going to mess up? Is there a fear that they're not going to do it the way you're going to do it? Is it a confrontation of, is their method different or worse than mine? Is it that I get angry if they don't deliver on time, therefore I don't delegate? Because oftentimes we're running away from emotion. So what is it that it brings up in you if the person you're delegating to isn't able to do it to your standards? And if this is a pattern, well, the place to start is to begin gradually to let go of something which is not critical. Don't start to let go of something or delegate something which is a really important mission critical assignment. You begin by identifying a person who can do a piece of it. So then you brief them really well, and you allow them to ask questions, and you give them just a little piece at a time. You see how it goes. Because some people make the mistake when they delegate, they say, okay, I trust you. This is the whole assignment. Get on with it. Surprise me. And then a week later, when it hasn't been done, or whatever number of weeks later, it hasn't been done to our standards, we take back control. That is the wrong way of delegating. It's too much, too soon, too fast.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So little by little. So the perfectionism is also about looking at when is good enough and what do I gain? Do I gain anything by bringing it that last step? Because once we become aware of it, maybe we can rationally see that overworking, not over achieving or over engineering is actually not a good use of time or energy. So oftentimes when we become aware of it, we can let go of it, but oftentimes we are on autopilot and we do what we've always done. Now, I think when I look at people who are overworking themselves, there's some kind of fear driving it. Fear that if I don't work hard, I could lose my job. Or younger generations, I hear this a lot. Younger people, they're faster than me, they know more than me. And this is often coupled with a lack of self-confidence or self-esteem, perhaps would be a better word, or self-love. Kind of, I doubt myself. It could, at the extreme, it could be imposter syndrome. And if I suffer from that, then I'm going to do anything I can to continue to prove myself, because I doubt myself. So I need to constantly prove not only to the world, but to myself that I am worthy. And I think this is probably one of the bigger patterns.
Yeah, I see it too.
Yeah. I am worthy. I can do this. I can do this better than others. Or, so if I take my foot off the pedal or then it means that other people could overtake me. And then my self-doubt begins to come up in me. And then I worry that I'm going to be let go of. I worry, then we go down that rabbit hole and the mind will take its own, take us on a journey to a very dark place. So we need to understand these patterns. Some people are very good, again, at noticing and fulfilling other people's needs, but I have difficulties fulfilling my own needs. Maybe I was told, is this nurture versus nature again? Maybe I was told as a kid that being, looking after your own needs is selfish. Many of us have that kind of perception, whether we are aware of it or not, whether it's been taught us directly or indirectly. Don't be selfish. And so we we learn that having needs is selfish, which actually it is not selfish. We have needs. I have a need for rest. I have a need for, my body has a need to recover on a daily basis. So if I believe that's selfish, I'm likely to neglect those needs, and then I'm going to help out my team members. So again, that could be a reason why I have difficulties delegating. For another reason, I don't want to overburden my team, so I end up working long hours instead. The outcome is the same. I work long hours, but the reason is different. One is I want to retain control. The other one is I don't want to overburden my team. I have a helper pattern. I'd much rather burden myself than others.
Yeah. So it sounds like then, this is obvious, right? But the answer is within us on how we need to deal with it. I know a lot of people are looking for external things that they need to change or do, but it sounds like we need to go within, figure out what's going on, and then find a way to change our perspective about ourselves or others.
Yes. And it starts with the awareness.
Mm-hmm.
So there are things we can do externally and internally, but I completely agree it begins with that internal journey. Some people will say, yes, I am, corporations today, they are overloading us. And they are. We need to work fast and we need to speed up. And they're right. There's more competition, and that's also true. But if I let that happen to me, if I let myself become a victim of that, then it will not change. And I, unfortunately, have examples. I know people who have died much sooner. They've died young, basically, because they had a heart attack.
Yeah.
In their 50s. I was coaching one guy who was admitted to hospital. He had a heart failure, and he was told that if you don't change the way that you work, you will die. And he's such a good example because he changed everything. And he used to work weekends. He was running a big construction project. He worked weekends for 9 months, and in the end, he collapsed. After that event, he learned to let go of his thoughts in the evening. He learned to let go of work. He learned to keep his laptop in the boot of his car. I mean, these days when we work online is perhaps a bit more difficult, but he took the lessons on board. He began to invest more time in his friendships, in his hobbies, in his family. And he made a rule that between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m., he did not open his email, and he encouraged his team to do the same. Don't send emails. Don't read emails. And that should be doable between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. in the morning. Yeah, but now we're all so reachable with our devices. So he took all of these, he took the advice on board, and it began with himself. He did the inner work as well because he made a decision. This is not serving me. The impact on my health and my happiness is too big for me to ignore. So in answer to your question, yes, we need to begin with ourselves, acknowledging that I don't want this to continue. And it doesn't have to be a big 360 or 180 degree turnaround. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to do something completely different. It can be a small adjustment. So it could be setting boundaries. And this is probably more of an external, so there will be external things and internal things. Setting boundaries means that I say to myself, I'll allow myself to work late one evening per week, for instance. I will not take work home on a weekend. Weekend is sacred, unless there's a complete emergency, which should be like once a year. I'm not talking about weekly emergencies. That should not happen. I should not be working on the weekend. Another boundary could be I need to have a lunch break. I need to get away from my desk. I need to walk around the block for at least 10 minutes. I need to have some food away from my desk. So when we set boundaries because we feel we are, I'm sorry to say it, worth it. Yes, I'm worth it. I need to set boundaries. I'm not a bad person because I value myself, because I have these needs. It is okay to set these boundaries. In fact, if you don't do it, work will take over. And work will keep piling up and piling up and piling up because you cannot say no. So that's some of the external things we can do, like setting boundaries is incredibly important. What are the inner things we can do? Well, inner things is sitting with what is and sitting with those negative emotions that we are running away from. what were to happen if you don't get that promotion? How would you feel? Oh, I would feel like a failure. Okay, go into it. I mean, first of all, is it a real failure if you don't get promoted and you don't work 16-hour days? No, maybe not. Okay, so that's the thought element of it. We can challenge the thoughts. Then we can go into the emotions. Can you be with the thought of being a failure? Because it's hard. We don't want to feel like a failure. And we don't want to feel those emotions. But if we are able to be with those emotions, then they don't have control over us. Then we are free to choose that, no, I don't want to go for that promotion. It's okay if I don't get promoted. I've already played the scenario in my head and I can deal with it emotionally. So we are steered by emotions so much more than we think we are. And it's sad, you know. We have something we're running away from and we have something we're running towards. So I could be running towards this gratification and these positive emotions from being promoted, or could be running away from some demons. One thing I didn't mention is that overworking myself or being a workaholic, as you mentioned, it could also be that I have a lot of messy emotions that I don't want to feel. And so numbing myself and overworking myself could be another reason. So again, we need to do the inner work. And I know we talked a lot about the inner work in a previous podcast we did. What are these emotions that are so difficult for me? What are the demons that I'm running away from? Is there trauma in your background? It doesn't have to be a big T trauma of divorce or neglect or abuse. It could be a smaller trauma, like I don't know, I just don't feel good enough. I have imposter syndrome. I suffer from imposter syndrome for no particular big reason. Just it is what it is. You don't have to analyze your past, for 20 years. But can you look into that? Can you be with it? Can you accept it? And often it's an emotional being with. Can I sit with it and let it be? So maybe for some people it's difficult to understand what I mean, but I just mean, can you sit on your bottom and invite that negative emotion to be felt, for instance? It's not easy. But when we are able to be with our fear, when we're able to be with our anger without having to distract ourselves or work away from it because we don't want to feel it, then nothing can hurt. Then we're in control. It not being in control, but it's the wrong word. But then we are masters of our universe, and we are masters of our internal world. Again, I'll pause there for a moment.
Yeah. We have agency, is what I'm hearing. Yeah, in our lives. Yeah.
Yeah, we have real agency because we're not steered by our emotions. And I'm not advocating that we should be cold and not feel our emotions. I'm just saying emotions go up and down. Welcome them. It's fine. You know, if I see people who are wealthier than me, is there a little part of me that feels a little bit of envy? Maybe there is. Can I be with that? Yes. So what? Move on. It doesn't mean that I have to overwork myself to accumulate more wealth, to get more material possessions. So be with those emotions, even if they pop up and initially it's gonna trigger you a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and the more that we process them, the less apt we are to become stuck in them, right? Just let them flow.
Absolutely. And I think it's also where this word transcendence comes from, because if we run away from our emotions, we put a lid on them, then they will just bubble over in another way. You know, if you are angry about something and you're trying not to feel it, when you least expect it, you're in the queue for the supermarket or something else, your anger is going to come out. So it's much better to let it out when you have, when you want to, rather than when you don't want to.
Yeah. I just imagine letting it out on some poor soul who accidentally cut in front of you. Oh, well, wow. I can't believe how fast the time has gone. I know people are going to want to dive further. Can you share a little bit about products and/or services for our listeners?
Yes. So I do a lot of one-on-one coaching. That could be executive coaching, or it could be mere mortals, managers who pay for coaching themselves, but I also work for corporations. I run leadership training. And I have a lot of videos on YouTube. Obviously, everything there is completely free. I have resources on my website, SusanneMadsen.com. And then I have my most recent book, How to Do the Inner Work, I think is very relevant for our conversation today. I know that was the topic of our last conversation. And I also recorded it as audiobook, so people can listen to it without even buying the physical copy.
It's when they're on their way to work. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and it's a gradual process, first of noticing our patterns, coming to an understanding. There's something I want to change a little bit, and then thinking about what's the first step I can take here. You don't have to take drastic action the first day. Maybe you start by having a small conversation with your manager and you say, I just have noticed that I feel extremely tired, and I've noticed that I tend to always say yes to extra assignments. I would like to talk to you about how you can help support me in making a little gradual change. It could also be we need a conversation with our partner at home in more support, or how they can help hold us accountable in our desire to work less. It could be we need to have a conversation with a friend and say, I really want to schedule something with you which is fun. We can do it on a regular basis, because it's going to drag me away from work. It's going to give me a reason not to work. Because I know some people, when they don't have family, they say, well, I might as well work because I have no one to come home to. So in that case, maybe there's a loneliness feeling they don't want to feel. So, they could be some of the actions that people take. Gradual action, I want to emphasize.
Yes. Oh, I love perfect final advice, right? Take that gradual action before a health scare makes us have to take drastic action, right? So just what is that one step that you can do to change?
Yeah.
Awesome. Any final words for our audience?
Don't beat yourself up. Don't feel bad. Don't criticize yourself now if you're listening to this and you say, yes, I'm working hard. I shouldn't do that. Have self-compassion, accept where you're at, and just see how you can gradually take a step forward. Don't begin to feel there's no need to go down a negative rabbit hole about that. Just take action. That's all you need to do.
I love it. Thank you so much for joining us again, Susanne.
You're very welcome. Such a pleasure.
Transform your organization with Eanes Training. Our premier interpersonal skills training programs are tailored to enhance your organization's employees in communication, emotional intelligence, leadership, and more. We have a catalog of expert-led courses designed to meet the dynamic needs of today's workforce. With highly engaging in-person, hybrid, and remote sessions, we can help elevate your organization's performance and success. Learn more at eanestraining.com. Thank you for tuning in to the Essential Skills for Humaning podcast. We hope you've gained valuable insights to enhance your journey as a human being. Remember, practice makes progress. Keep honing those essential skills, and until next time, keep being the best version of yourself. For more resources, visit eanestraining.com.